Police have secured the campus at a Florida State University after a shooting earlier this afternoon. 2 people are reported dead and at least 7 hospitalized. Law enforcement identifying a suspect who is now in custody. NTD's David Lamb reports.
At Florida State University, campus-wide activities were paused on Thursday as first responders investigated a school shooting. According to authorities, there were 2 fatalities and at least 7 people hospitalized, including the alleged gunman.
The shooter is 20-year-old Phoenix Eichner, and he's the son of a Leon County Sheriff deputy. Our deputy Eichner, has been with the Leon County Sheriff's Office for over 18 years. She has a tremendous job that she's done. Her service to this community has been exceptional.
The university issued an alert at around noon local time about an active shooter, advising students to shelter in place.
Just sitting down doing my work and the alarm goes off. At first you're thinking it's just a fire alarm. It sounds a little different though. And I'm just hearing active shooter and you kind of just like panic a little bit in the moment.
Law enforcement says the suspect used a handgun and was in possession of a shotgun.
After like 20 minutes, they told us to put our hands up and we come out to like first armed security and all that. And they told us to have our hands up and walk out here.
FBI Director Kash Patel said the FBI Jackson team is on the ground assisting. President Trump also responded.
These things are terrible, but the gun doesn't do the shooting, the people do. It's, a phrase that's used probably too often. I will tell you that it's a shame. I'm just hearing about it now. I just hear about it. I know the area very well. I know the school very well.
Tallahassee police say multiple law enforcement agencies remain on site for the ongoing investigation. The FBI is requesting that people provide or upload any information or recordings related to the shooting to www.fbi.gov/FSU shooting. David Lamb, NTD News.
The Supreme Court today keeping on hold President Trump's restrictions on birthright citizenship, but agreeing to hear arguments on the issue this May. Here's Trump speaking on the Supreme Court's decision to hear the case.
Well, you're just telling me that for the first time. I am so happy. I think the case has been so misunderstood. That case, birthright citizenship, is about slavery. They use it for people that come into our country and they walk in and all of a sudden they become citizens and they pay a lot of money to different cartels and others. It's all about slavery, and if you look at it that way, we should win that case.
Trump has ordered an end to citizenship by birth for the children of people who are in the United States illegally, but it's been halted nationwide by 3 district courts around the country. Trump signing the executive order on January 20th, his first day in office, prompting a flurry of lawsuits. Nationwide injunctions issued by courts in Maryland, Massachusetts, and Washington blocking the ban from taking effect. The Supreme Court will consider if those judges had the authority to issue those nationwide injunctions. The Trump administration last month making an emergency appeal to the Supreme Court to allow a narrower version to move forward. This still pending litigation. President Trump revealing that the United States and China are actively talking amid escalating tariffs. He also promises a trade deal with Europe, as Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni becoming the first European leader to visit the White House amid the new era of reciprocal tariffs. And joining us now live is NTD's White House correspondent, Iris Tao. Good evening to you, Iris. So first of all, what came of the Trump-Meloni meeting today at the White House?
Good evening to you as well, Steve. So as President Trump welcomes Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni to the White House today, he says that he's 100% confident that the U.S. will have a trade deal with Europe before the end of the 90-day pause of most of its reciprocal tariffs. And Meloni also announces some progress by saying that Trump has accepted an invitation for him to visit Rome in the near future, adding that he's considering the possibility of also meeting with some other European officials using that occasion. Meloni says that together, she believes they can make the West great again. Watch.
She has taken Europe by storm. She's become a friend, and we really have a great relationship.
So I think even if we have some problems, okay, between the two shores of the Atlantic, it is the time that we try to sit down and find solutions. The goal for me is to make the West great again. Okay? And I think we can do it together.
We can.
Meanwhile, in just recent weeks, President Trump has said that he believes the EU was created to, quote, screw the United States. But White House officials told us that Trump hopes that Meloni will become a bridge between him and other European officials. Meloni, meanwhile, has a great relationship with Trump personally. She was not only the only European leader invited and attended Trump's inauguration back in January, and we were also there when Trump invited Meloni to his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida and dined with her, even watched a movie with her, with us all together. And meanwhile, today, Meloni became the first European leader to visit the White House and meet with Trump in person amid the new tariff landscape. And President Trump today also saying that he's making quick progress with a lot of other countries, saying that the U.S. is the one setting the deals. Watch.
Everybody wants to make a deal, and if they don't want to make a deal, we'll make the deal for them. We're listening, and we're going to be very fair to people, but, you know, we're the one that really sets the deal.
And just yesterday, Japanese officials were at the White House to meet with President Trump. And Trump says today that South Korean officials will also be coming next week. And then India is also talking with the U.S. Steve.
And Iris, in more complicated negotiations, President Trump today also talking about the ongoing talks with China. Tell us more.
Sure. So President Trump today continued to decline to answer if he's talking directly with Xi Jinping yet, but he revealed that the top levels of the Chinese regime are in talks with the U.S. after he ramped up tariffs on China to 145% last week. And he also says that he expects to have a deal with China and conclude negotiations with them within the next 3 to 4 weeks. But if not, he says, he will still keep on using tariffs, though he adds that he believes China wants the U.S. market and will need to negotiate. Watch.
I would say they have reached out a number of times. I think we're going to make a deal with China. We're going to make a deal with everybody. And if we don't make a deal, we'll just set a target, and we'll live with that. And we're a big, beautiful store, and everybody wants a piece of that store.
And today, President Trump also dismissed concerns over China now attempting to win over some U.S. trading partners amid U.S. tariffs. Trump says that he believes no country can compete with the United States. Steve.
NTD's Iris Tal live from the White House. Thank you, Iris. And today, President Trump saying the United States and Ukraine could sign a deal on critical minerals this as early as next week. The deal was first floated back in February before a meeting between Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky in the Oval Office, which turned contentious. The United States and officials are in Paris today, meeting with Ukrainian and European allies. They're discussing the Russia-Ukraine war as both sides accuse one another of violating a partial ceasefire. NTD's Washington correspondent Jack Bradley has the details.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio and presidential envoy Steve Witkoff are meeting with top Ukrainian and European officials in Paris. The talks are taking place as both Russia and Ukraine say they're taking fire by drones. Ukraine agreed to President Trump's ceasefire proposal last month, but Russia rejected it. Russia says that any ceasefire must be on the condition that Ukraine stop receiving weapons from NATO allies. But Kiev has rejected that. The two sides have agreed on curbing their attacks on energy infrastructure and at sea, but both sides accuse each other of violating that partial ceasefire every day. Just 2 weeks ago, Secretary Rubio said to NATO allies in Brussels that we would soon know if Russia's serious about peace talks.
And now the civilized world waits to see if Russia is indeed serious.
Meanwhile, the Chinese regime has long been the largest supporter of Russia's war machine, but they're also heavily supporting Iran and its proxy terrorist groups like the Houthis in Yemen.
There is a Chinese company providing satellite imagery to the Houthis. Even after we've engaged in discussions with them about this, the fact that they continue to do this is unacceptable. And we urge our partners to judge the CCP and Chinese companies, again, on their actions and not their words.
After the talks in Paris conclude Friday, Witkoff will travel to Rome to meet with the Iranian foreign minister for the second time in 2 weeks.
The bright red line is that Iran will not have a nuclear weapon.
Reporting by Jack Bradley, NTD News.
Congressional lawmakers warning Americans about Chinese AI app DeepSeek. This after an investigation, they say it's the Chinese Communist Party's most recent tool for espionage and theft. NTD correspondent Jason Blair reports.
The House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party say the CCP is using AI app DeepSeek as one of their latest dual-use efforts for, quote, spying, stealing, and subverting U.S. export control restrictions. In a Wednesday report, the committee highlights their key findings. One, DeepSeek funnels data to the CCP through back-end infrastructure. DeepSeek covertly manipulates results to align with CCP propaganda and Chinese law. DeepSeek highly likely uses stolen U.S. AI models. And DeepSeek appears to use NVIDIA chips banned for export to China. In the report, the committee makes these recommendations. 1. Swiftly expand export controls, improve export control enforcement, and address risks from AI models from China. And prevent and prepare for strategic surprise related to advanced AI. Along with DeepSeek, TikTok has also received a lot of similar attention from lawmakers, experts, and users alike. Many point to the app's algorithm being used to sway a user's opinion to the CCP's benefit. Many allege that the algorithm often covertly aligns with CCP propaganda and censorship. TV personality and businessman Kevin O'Leary made a $20 billion bid to buy TikTok. He testified in Congress last week and was asked about his findings when he investigated the app.
TikTok is weapons-grade spyware, period. It's one of the best propaganda machines I've ever seen. And if you want evidence of it, go on in the last 24 hours and look at the videos generated there through AI of overweight Americans at sewing machines, even the president himself depicted here, or over iPhones screwing in screws with the message, "Let's make America great again." I have never seen such blatant propaganda.
And O'Leary said that Senator Tim Cotton told him that Congress would not allow anyone to buy TikTok with its current algorithm. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Jason Blair, NTD News.
Amid trade escalations between China and the United States, Chinese manufacturers are driving a new TikTok trend, urging Americans to buy products directly from their suppliers inside of China. The move is to bypass tariffs put in place by the Trump administration. Influencers claiming to be Chinese factory workers are flocking to TikTok, suggesting people to buy these fashion brands straight from them at a discount price. Many of these videos are gaining millions of views across China and Chinese-linked social media platforms. It remains unclear whether buying directly from them would sidestep U.S. tariffs. Meanwhile, TikTok is also facing a possible ban inside of the United States. The app is fully owned by its Chinese parent company ByteDance, which is directly controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. U.S. officials say TikTok could be used as a Trojan horse to harvest American user data and push narratives in line with the CCP's propaganda. And so what do everyday Americans think about a possible ban on TikTok? NTD Sam Wong was out in the National Mall right here in D.C. to ask them.
I wouldn't want somebody having access to my data that I didn't know about. Well, I don't know much about TikTok. I'm in baby boomers, so we don't keep up with that much.
Whatever keeps everybody safe, and it's in our best interest. So yeah, if they ban it, if it's for for good cause, for good reason, it makes sense.
China's notorious for stealing IP, and that's been the big issue with trading with China. I think that's part of the negotiation, at least I hope it is more security for IP.
The Chinese use it for an educational tool, and they give them access to educational benefits instead of the type of disruption that we get here in the United States.
The board of governors of TikTok, whoever's control of TikTok, has to make that ethical decision, right? Either you're going to stick with them and face the consequences, or you're going to cut ties and, save a lot of Americans' personal data, whatever this is.
Are you concerned about China potentially manipulating our, TikTok's algorithm here in the United States?
Yeah, I mean, I think these algorithms are kind of a slippery slope, in terms of, getting information out there that, I don't know, that doesn't start off politically slanted, but kind of, I could see how it can insidiously, morph into that.
I wouldn't want them to have control over it or have the information or my information, So I would not be happy with that.
There has to be some sort of transparency. You can't link Chinese companies or government entities to American data.
And a federal judge ruling today that Google monopolizes online advertising technology. The decision marks another blow to the tech giant in an antitrust case brought by the Department of Justice. The ruling could allow prosecutors to argue for a breakup of Google's advertising products. The Department of Justice saying the company should have to sell off at least its Google Ad Manager. The platform includes the company's publisher ad server and its ad exchange. Google now facing the possibility of 2 different courts ordering it to sell assets or alter its business practices. A judge in Washington will hold a trial in April on whether to make Google sell its Chrome browser. Web browser, Google has explored selling off its ad exchange to cooperate with European antitrust regulators as well. Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.